Tonight on Cosmic Cantina, from our separate quarantine bunkers, I go into a recent article where the Pope warns of succumbing to the demons of apathy and mediocrity. Then I interview paranormal coach Kaedrich Olsen, who pushes for greater understanding of the paranormal in our lives and how fear of the supernatural leads to increased negative situations. And finally, Matt has a rant about tulpas, and Josh brings us home with a personal story of an ancestral ghost.
I'm your host, Melissa Tittle, and every week I go to my favorite bar, Cosmic Cantina, and kick back with my co-hosts, Josh Golembeski and Matt O'Connor. We talk about aliens, Bigfoot, ghosts, ancient cultures, and anything from the unseen world that needs a little illumination.
Welcome to Cosmic Cantina. I'm your host, Melissa Tittle, and this is our first night in quarantine. And we are all in our houses respectively safe, and we are drinking all different things. I'm having a glass of white wine from Santorini, Greece.
I am drinking a gluten-free Omission Brewing Pale Ale. Lovely.
Ooh. Is that gluten-free, Josh?
Is it gluten-free? Really? Wow.
I feel like you guys are picking on me.
Gluten-free. Yeah. I got a little Cab Sav going on here from California.
All right. So tonight, we're going to talk about the dark side, because there's a lot of people in sort of a dark space.
Agreed.
To say. You know, I don't know if it's the virus or maybe we're all just home and we're going stir crazy. I don't know what it is. But so in light of talking about the dark side, I thought I would open with an article from the Vatican News, which sounds kind of odd, but this is the theme of tonight. So the article is literally from the Vatican News. You can find this online. We'll, of course, post it on our site. It says, Pope at Mass says, watch out against friendly, well-mannered demons.
All right.
Yeah. So apparently the devil's got a little bit more tricky these days. So the devil, he doesn't just come down busting down the doors and being like, because people are like, oh, I get that game.
Yeah.
Sneaky. Okay.
He's a tricky bastard.
He's a tricky bastard. Right, so this is what the Pope says. So the Pope says that when the devil cannot destroy head on with vices and war and injustice, he does in a subtle way. When the devil takes possession of a person's heart, the Pope says he makes it his home, not wanting to leave, and he tries to ruin the person and harm him even physically. The Pope says that Satan makes us feel comfortable that we are Christians, Catholics who go to Mass and pray. We do have our defects, our sins, but everything seems to be in order and it's okay. Acting like a polite person, the demon goes about to find a weak point and knocks on your door and says, excuse me, may I come in? And the Pope says these demons, I think I know these people. Okay, wait, hold on. The Pope says, these demons are worse than the first ones, meaning it's worse than the ones that come and they're like, war, craziness. These demons are worse because you don't realize that they are in your home. They are the worldly spirit, the spirit of the world. Working silently, they make friends and persuade you on the road to mediocrity, making you lukewarm with worldliness. Okay, so what does that mean? I literally had to look up the spirit of the world because I've heard it, like when you're writing and you want to use pieces of the Bible, like what do they mean by the spirit of the world? So in layman terms, the spirit of the world is human wisdom in general, or basic human process of understanding as expressed in secular philosophy and worldly wisdom. It's understood in the Bible three ways. The spirit of the world is a demonic spirit, or perhaps Satan in particular. He's the Satan ruler of the world, God of the world. He's not God. He's just God of the world. So the reason I brought this up is that I think that evil has a new face.
Ooh.
And that that's what I wanted to discuss in this podcast, because I feel like people feel it, but they're not really sure what it is. And I love what the Pope says here. That it's making people mediocre. Like, that is a sin. That's kind of crazy. I've never heard that before.
So it sounds like what they're saying is, it sounds like the spirit of the earth sounds like kind of the zeitgeist. which it literally means like time ghost, like the ghost of the time.
The spirit of the time, yeah.
And it sounds like these demons or whatever they're talking about are sort of breeding apathy in humans and people, so they don't really care anymore. Is that kind of what's going on? That was my take of it.
Yeah, or just not really thinking for themselves, like not really knowing what is good or evil, just kind of going with whatever humanity is saying is right or wrong, right? So like the worldliness of the world, like human understanding isn't always the right understanding, right? Like, yeah. I guess, for example, it would be kind of like what's common knowledge, right? It's just what 50% of the population believes is correct. But that doesn't mean it's right. So he's saying that you need to be able, like in his terms here, he's basically saying you need to find God within yourself. And if you don't believe in what he's saying, basically you just need to know what your thoughts are. Which is kind of interesting because it's like, it's not just like the big bad devil anymore.
No, I like it. I think that's correct. There's like large scale apathy that goes around the world. You see it everywhere. It's almost like a crime to strive for greatness. It's almost a crime to like put yourself out there to try to do something bigger and better. Like the pressure of like not going for that or just staying little and not trying to put yourself out there in any way is so strong. And like, what's that from? I don't know. I know I fight that every day. I feel it every day, not to go after your dreams, not to do something great, not to be great because you're scared of what other people will think, or there's all these pressures on you from society that just beat you down, from our systems, from the large scale systems to psychology in our own life and the people we know. So I see that. I love that. That's actually, I mean, I love to take a piss out of religion anytime I can, but I actually really like that the Pope said that. I think that is powerful and a really good statement from a religious leader.
Yeah, I think if you look at it metaphorically, it makes a lot of sense. And I think like another thing that kind of breeds apathy in people is experiencing and being witness to a lot of negative things over and over again, to the point where you just sort of, even as a defense mechanism, you just kind of give up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically say, I don't care anymore.
I felt that before. I felt that in my life before.
Yeah.
Like when he says the devil takes over, or Satan takes over your heart, that's what it is. Like, oh, everything's so bad that I'll be consumed by darkness. And that doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that is how, the idea of demons get into your life. You become dark inside. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's funny, like I said, like if you take it metaphorically, you can kind of see how it kind of relates to you, but it sounds like they're actually saying that there's these actual entities that are latching on and attacking you.
Yeah. And
right.
This was just recently, so I think that it's pretty timely with what's happening, because there is a real virus out there. There people are getting sick, things are happening, but there is also a level of fear that is like just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, than the actual virus itself. So I'm saying they're both real. I'm not saying one's not real. I'm just saying that they are both pretty real. So what does that mean?
Pick a side, Melissa.
I can't. I just can't. There's just too many options. All right, so we have an interesting person that I interviewed named Kaedrich Olsen. And I'm just going to read a little bit of his bio. He has spent a lifetime working with the paranormal, growing up attending a spiritualist church. He learned how to communicate with spiritual beings. He also lived in a very haunted house full of ghosts and other strange beings. His years of study into Norse mysticism, transpersonal counseling, gave him the tools to further refine his understanding techniques. And this is what he does. He shares this kind of understanding. He does seminars. He's also coached a lot of celebrities, especially in the paranormal space, that have TV shows on mainstream. The work he does expands beyond basic communication with subtle beings. He is now working with paranormal investigators to train them on safety protocols if they should encounter potentially dangerous paranormal situations. So I did this interview with him because I wanted him to do a little bit deep dive in paranormal protection, just kind of how we started the show off, like these kind of subtle beings kind of creep into your life and you feel it, but you don't know what to do and you don't know how to feel. And so he kind of goes into it in a bigger perspective, which is really interesting. So check this out. My first question to you would be, what is paranormal protection to you, and why do you think it's important?
That's a really good point. The reason why it's important is because one of my missions in this world is to normalize the paranormal, to help people realize that the supernatural is actually perfectly natural. We are surrounded by spiritual beings, subtle entities on a daily basis. But because we have been so conditioned through different cultures, through media, that we tune this out. We either say that it doesn't exist, or if it does exist, that it is something that is problematic, that it is dangerous, that we need to avoid it at all costs. However, growing up with this and with this awareness of just the subtle entities that are all around us, I'm seeing that people are taking these notions that the paranormal is something dangerous to be avoided, and that if you have an experience with the paranormal, it is instantly and automatically always going to be a negative and a dangerous experience, which is absolutely not the case. What is happening most often the time is people are creating their own reality, that they're creating this problem when it's perfectly benign, completely not malevolent, sometimes very beneficial. But because we've been trained to be afraid of the paranormal, we create problems so bad for ourselves that just doesn't need to be. And so the paranormal protection really for me is going in and helping people change their mindsets and the way that they view their interaction with subtle beings, so that it can actually be a very positive and very beneficial interaction, something that I think the world is waiting to wake up to at a bigger level.
Interesting. So what are some of the things that you teach people so that they can understand what's happening around them? And what kind of techniques and tools do you give people to kind of be able to be masters of their universe?
One of the very first things that I teach is that there is no veil. One of the misconceptions is that we like to say that the veil is thinnest at around the time of Halloween or around the time of Beltane, at the end of April, at the end of October. We say this thing, or we go to a graveyard and we say the veil between the world is thinnest here, or we like to do midnight, 3 a.m. And in reality, there is no veil. There is absolutely no veil between the supernatural world and the natural world. They are absolutely one and the same. And what I teach people to do is to take control over their own perceptions and their awareness of the world around them, so that they are, first of all, aware of, they can make these connections or they can disconnect at will, so that they are becoming empowered to take control of their energetic environment. With that awareness, that is the next step, is I teach them that their emotional output is directly connected to their energy output, and that similarities attract and perpetuate. Meaning, if you are going into this with a fear state, certain that something is going to be harming you, you will either be creating or attracting to you something that will harm you and will cause a problem. But since I'm empowering you to be in charge of your energetic environment and how to make that mental shift internally to a higher emotional state, you are now able to attract beings that are beneficial to you, or at least non-malevolent, so that you can actually have a much better experience. This even comes into the realm of house clearing. Somebody has something in their house that's negative, maybe it's throwing things, emitting the weird smells, and creating all sorts of problems. And I will go through and instead of walking through the house and doing the saging and doing the holy water and all that sort of stuff, I will actually pull the person out of the house. We will meet in a sanctuary space, and I will teach them techniques to move into a higher state of mind, to shift their energy state on their own being, so that when they go back into their house, they are no longer vulnerable to these attacks. And then subsequent visits, I will teach them how to clear energy in their house and maintain the energy environment of their home, so that a harmful entity cannot reside in that house at all. So, like, if I were to come in and clear it out, sure, it would work, but it would come back. And so I teach people how to take care of their energy environment inside and around them, so that they are no longer a victim to these paranormal forces.
And these paranormal